Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Collegiate Star League. My name is Fear Dragon, and I'm going to be taking you through the journey of today's CSL broadcast for the StarCraft 2 side of things. Today, we have a very special match. It is going to be Rutgers versus University of Connecticut. It is going to be a super duper awesome and fun match because let me tell you something. Both of these teams are sitting 3-1 in their group. They're both doing really well in about second place. They're tied for second place right now in their group. The winner is going to be able to move forward into second place. The loser is going to move down to third place. As you can see there, as the group standings do show up there. Both of them on a 2-game winning streak. They're basically tied in every regard. Obviously going to be behind Temple, who's sitting 5-0 in their group right now, but still going to be definitely a match to be on the lookout for. Now, of course, we do have some pretty awesome players involved in today's match as well. First of all, Printf, I think the legendary Printf. Many people who may not be familiar with Printf, I'm just going to give you the breakdown. This guy is famous for cannon rushing every game. He knows that his opponents are aware he is a notorious cannon rusher, but he doesn't care. That doesn't matter to him because he's still such a proficient cannon rusher that he will still do it and he'll still make it work. And that is something you've got to be afraid of. Someone who is able to win games consistently in Grandmaster League as a cannon rusher, even when his opponents know it's coming. That is something to be afraid of. Now, of course, Printf, just one of the many players I'm going to be playing today, and he's playing for University of Connecticut, the UConn Husky StarCraft team that is led by H-Jax. H-Jax, another pretty solid player, and of course, Rookwood, another player that I am fairly familiar with, fairly involved in the StarCraft scene. But on the Rutgers side of things, the name that I recognize the most is definitely Carnage. Carnage, leader for the Rutgers University team, is a pretty solid GM player. I've seen him in the StarCraft scene for quite a bit of time, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how that match is going to go. That's the second match. Our matchups for today, by the way, are going to be White Storm, Lord White Storm, the Zerg player for Rutgers, facing off versus Printf, the Protoss player for University of Connecticut Husky StarCraft. Second match is going to be yet another Zerg versus Protoss, with the Zerg being Carnage again for Rutgers, and Husky StarCraft for University of Connecticut is going to be H-Jax. The 2v2 is then going to be played with a Terran and a random player of all things. And that is going to be, again, for Rutgers. It's going to be Fang Zhaoyi and Dustwalker facing off versus Rookwood and Turkey Dono for University of Connecticut. And we will then hopefully have a game number 4, but we'll hop into Fang Zhaoyi and Dustwalker once again versus Turkey Dono and H-Jax. So a very similar Archon and 2v2 lineup, with only H-Jax really being swapped out for Rookwood in that Archon mode match. But definitely will be pretty interesting if we get to that point. And of course the Ace match, we don't really know what the case is going to be. But I think that we are just now waiting for White Storm. I saw him earlier in the chat. I know he was hanging around. I guess we just need to get him in the game to actually get things started. Go ahead and toss him an invite. But of course, I do want to give a huge thank you to the sponsors that make the CSL possible. First of all, Twitch. You guys are watching the broadcast on Twitch. I'm sure that you're familiar with Twitch already. But of course, if you haven't already heard about the fantastic things that they're doing for the CSL, do give them a little bit of extra love because they've made so many things in the CSL possible, both this season and in previous seasons. And of course, big thank you also to Band Gaming, and I'll be playing a couple ads from Band Gaming later on in the broadcast. But for those of you who don't know, it's a big social media kind of platform where you can use it to communicate with lots of your other, say, other students at your college. If you're running a CSL team, it's a really great way to keep in touch, make sure that everyone's organized, make sure everyone shows up for their match like Rutgers and University of Connecticut did today. We have everyone ready. We're starting in a relatively reasonable amount of time. And I think that we are ready to go. Frozen Temple is going to be the very first map. I do want to note that if we make it to the Archon mode match at game number 4, we're hopping to San Station, and that is just a fun prospect for me. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Frozen Temple, Protoss versus Zerg, with a notorious Protoss cannon rushing player for University of Connecticut, Printf. facing off versus White Storm. Now, as far as I'm aware, White Storm, I think that his profile for his StarCraft 2 games showed that he was in Diamond League, and that is a little bit concerning because Printf is a really good player. Look, even if you know that the Cannon Rush is coming, Printf is actually just a really, really good player. He could probably play a macro game. That's the cool thing about Printf. He doesn't just always win with the big Cannon Rush. He actually oftentimes will win with the follow-up macro game that comes afterwards. And that's what's really cool about Printf. He's a very methodical player as well, so it's going to be kind of a difficult run, but here we go. We're going to find out how this series goes as we hop into game number 1 and introduce the players. All right, spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, representing University of Connecticut Husky StarCraft. Give it up for the green Protoss player, Printf. And his opponent spawned down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. We have the red Zerg player representing Rutgers University. Give it up for White Storm. All right, well, we got the first pylon. We got the forge coming on down. This is what I was talking about. One note, it's an in-base forge. So this isn't the old school style of PvZ where you'd go for the forge at the front. You go for some kind of Nexus expand. No. That's not in Printf's plans. He's going to cause all kinds of havoc. And I want to note, Frozen Temple, one of the maps where you can actually do a pretty easy wall in. I think that you can wall in with maybe 3 pylons. Maybe you need a 4th, but no. Printf's not having any of that. He's going for the wall in over the front. At the ramp, the Overlord does spawn out the first pylon being thrown down. And what is White Storm's response? He's not going for a spawning pool first. He's going for a hatch gas pool. Oh no, this is going to make it so difficult for him to respond. He may actually think this is a fake out because otherwise I think he would have pulled some workers. He sees that the pylon is there. He immediately cancels the hatchery as he didn't really quite see any of these things, but he does see them now with the drone. We got another hatchery, a macro hatchery being taken over here. Whoa, the gas geyser gets stolen over here. Printf, I know that he has said if he does not get the gas steal on a Zerg player going for this kind of build, he feels like it's just over. He feels like he cannot win because his opponent will just get up the second gas geyser, he'll get up a lot of roaches and go for a big push, and he just can't do anything about it. So taking one of those gas guys is really delaying this, and even just delaying a lot of this economy. Even though it seems like White Storm should eventually be able to take out that gas geyser pretty quickly, it's just delayed so much mining for White Storm. And just look at this. In the income tab, Printf going for a cannon rush and a proxy gateway is leading up by a significant amount of income. Even gets a second gas steal off. Oh my god, this must be the most infuriating game for White Storm ever. Probe is still alive. We don't even have Zerglings on the way. There's a queen that's going to be coming out eventually that should be able to chase off this probe, but realistically, there's already a potential, for more cannons to come down. He could actually start making a zealot if he really wanted to. Start putting on the pressure. Cybernex core, though, is going to be made. He already has both of his gas geysers, only mining off of 2 guys in each gas geyser. And I'm curious if he's going to try and go for the Nexus. Oh my god, more photon cannons coming down. We got a proxy robo on the way. And here's the difficult thing. White Storm has all of his overlords on the other side of the map. And what this means is that he is not going to be able to actually scout out this location unless he just sacrifices Zerglings to go after the photon cannons. And I don't think that's really what he wants to do. He is going for a lair with his macro hatch. He's gonna finally be able to take out that second gas geyser. But I mean, again, it's a 1 base lair on 1 gas geyser. And he's sitting on 19 workers. I just don't know how this ends up working. Gonna be able to take out the pylon on the high ground. That's a nice start, because once he does that, he can at least start chipping away at some of the photon cannons where Printf doesn't have that vision with the high ground. But unfortunately, an Adept can easily provide some vision on the high ground. Even without actually going up to the high ground himself, the Adept can just shade up to the top, and it's gonna make it a lot harder to take out that photon cannon. All right, a second robotics facility is being made. I think that Printf is just expecting 1 roaches and 2 spine crawlers, neither of which are actually out right now. In fact, this 1 adept is already going to be able to do quite a bit of damage, taking out each worker, 3 workers killed. That's almost what, 1/6, 1/7 of the economy right now for White Storm. This is a rather absurd game right now. Well, we got Immortals on the way, and And Immortals are going to be very difficult for White Storm to take out, but here we go. Nidus Worm is going to be the option for White Storm, getting up a Hydralisk Den as well. I wonder if he's going to try and go for something crazy, like the Nidus Worm play could end up working out. If you look at what Printf actually has, it's not a lot. He is getting up Warp Gate technology, so he should eventually be able to do something, but oh my god, is there anything to kill this Immortal? I think the Immortal should realistically be able to kill all these Zerglings, although 12 more are going to be popping out. Even if they don't have speed, I suppose the Moisture Core could still recall the Immortals, which would be a really awkward choice, but, well, White Storm has got to do something. Rutgers does not want to go down gameplay number 1 like this. This is a pretty infuriating way to go down, but here we go. Footstone Overcharge, gonna be very helpful versus these Zerglings, especially the slow Zerglings. They can't really get the wrap around. Immortals don't even lose all of their shields, and they're gonna be able to potentially take out this Lair Tech. Hydralisks are on the way, but in such low numbers. 2 Hydralisks is all he can really afford to make right now. Doesn't look like there's enough energy for, okay, now there's enough energy for another Footstone Overcharge, and with another pylon going down, should definitely feel safe doing so. Lair gets taken out, and it is going to be a Nidus Worm with 2 Hydralisks. That's it. 2 Hydralisks, a couple of Queens, and a handful of Zerglings, but even the Zerglings are just going down. Absolutely free damage being done over here for Printf. Let's take a look at the units lost. He's lost an Adept. 1 Adept has been lost. Income tab? Yeah, I think that Printf is leading over there pretty gosh darn well. Nidus Worm has been finished up for a while now, but I don't think that White Storm has had an opportunity to use it. Printf takes game number 1 and secures a nice little lead for his team, University of Connecticut. Well done by Printf with a honestly pretty decisive game. It was a bit of a silly game. We had double proxy robos after the cannon rush contain. But you know, that's the way that it goes, and that's what you've got to expect when you're facing off versus the legendary Printf. But next game is going to be yet another Zerg versus Protoss. Once again, the Zerg player from Rutgers, the Protoss player from University of Connecticut. But I think it's going to be probably a little bit different of a game. I don't exactly know a whole lot about the 2 players' playstyles, but I will say that Carnage, the player for Rutgers, is a well-known Grandmasters level player, and I'm definitely expecting some pretty solid play out of him. I'm not as familiar with how H-Jax plays, but H-Jax, the leader right now for University of Connecticut, acts as their coordinator. I'm sure that he's going to have some pretty solid play, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to cut to a short little break while we get the next game set up. It's hopping on to New Gettysburg, but do check out Band Gaming, and I don't even need to explain to you what Band Gaming is, because you guys will just find out through these fantastic videos. See you soon.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are hopping into it. Game number 2 between, not those two teams. Whoops. We're gonna just pretend like we didn't just show that. It looks like I need to update that. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 2. As we start down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, atop of the purple Zerg player from Rutgers. Give it up for Carnage. And his opponent spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, the pink Protoss player from rival and, of course, University of Connecticut. Give it up for H-Jax. And I am definitely really happy about this matchup, just because I might not know that much about H-Jax, but I know that these are both of the coordinators. These are the team captains for both teams leading it up in game number 2. Of course, University of Connecticut ahead by 1 game, so if they can win this game, they go into those 2v2 in the Archon mode match, which I've got to say, it's a little bit harder to get a read on those. There's definitely some stability to some extent in those matches, but it is also one of the types of games with Archon mode and 2v2 where upsets can happen. And even if you are slightly outmatched, or even if things are kind of in a weird place, if you feel like you don't have the best lineup for that, you can still actually do rather well, just because it's oftentimes an unexplored territory for StarCraft. And I feel like being up 2-0, 1 game away from victory, moving into the 2v2 in the Archon mode match, is gotta be one of the most comfortable positions, and being down 0-2 has gotta be one of the most uncomfortable positions, because even if you feel like you have got a great lineup for it, things can just happen in a 2v2. Things can just happen in an Archon mode match. Sometimes miscoordination can happen between the teammates. All kinds of different things can go wrong, but let's talk a bit more about this 1v1 that's happening for now. We got, again, a PVZ. We got a nice little wall off going over at the front. H-Jax, not his teammate, Printf, is not going to be going for any kind of crazy cannon rush shenanigans by any means. But as he chrono boosts out Warp Kit technology, we see that Carnage really isn't doing anything too strange either. He's gotten up his hatchery, gotten up his spawning pool, getting up 6 Zerglings, which is a slightly larger number of Zerglings than some early Zerg players like to go for. Actually, yeah, just gonna go back to droning. Gonna try and grab an eventual 3rd expansion, but 2 Twilight Council coming down for H-Jax way in the corner of his base. I really like when Protoss players do this. They hide something that isn't even that out of the ordinary. Just makes it a little bit harder for the Zerg player to really get a read on what's going on. Now, Overlord isn't really going to get picked off anytime soon with an Adept on the way. The Twilight Council really does signal it's probably going to be Resonating Glaives, so it's not like there's going to be a Stalker following this up either. So this Overlord should be able to camp out somewhere between the 3rd and the natural expansion, scout out those gas geysers, and get a decent read on what's going to be coming out. Especially with the Zerglings popping at the front, seeing the Adepts being chrono boosted out. Oh, might see a little bit more than just the Adept being chrono boosted out. Might actually be able to get a surround on this Adept and kill it off. Adept Shade does go a little bit further out, but not really that much further. And now Zergling speed finishes up. I think that may be a very dead Adept. A second Adept does come out to help out, but Zerglings get the kill and are going to be able to move into the main base to try and see what they can scout out. They see a gateway, and they do manage to spot out that Twilight Council that is researching Resonating Glaives. After seeing the Adepts too, you can pretty much guarantee, okay, it's Resonating Glaives. It's not going to be a Blink. Nobody goes for Blink and just only gets Adepts. That's just not how you play good StarCraft. But Roach Warren is going to be on the way over here for Carnage, getting up his 3rd expansion. He doesn't have to worry too much, since nothing that we're really seeing out of H-Jax so far is super crazy, like super all in, super out of the ordinary. There are 4 gateways coming out, which is one of the more aggressive variants of the Adept pressure. With the Robotic Slowly also coming out, you can get up that Warp Prism. You can really put on a decent amount of pressure, but here we go. Dark Shrine goes down immediately after that Zergling is killed off. 3rd and 4th gas guys are going to be taken. I think that these, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that these 3rd and 4th gas geysers are slightly on the later side, possibly because he was waiting for those Zerglings to be killed off. But that may end up delaying his DT tech a little bit in terms of getting that first wave of DTs out. We'll have to wait and see how things actually end up playing out, but here we go. Adept shade their way across the map. We're going to try and get something done. Roach Warren is finished up, and the Roaches are going to be popping out just in the nick of time to defend at least the bases, but oftentimes you really want to catch these Adepts as they're making their way into your base. You don't want to be just catching them as they're in your mineral line, focus firing down your workers. But it looks like Ajax a little bit careful about just zooming on in there. He's going to take this very cautiously. He's going to wait for his Warp Prism to come out. He does finish up that Dark Shrine, or is going to be finishing up relatively shortly. But all these Adepts are just sitting underneath the Overlord. I'm surprised that Carnage doesn't just move forward with the Ravagers. Be careful. Please don't Corrosive Bile your own Overlord. Okay, it looks like he's smart enough not to do so. Okay, looks like he's going to Corrosive Bile his own Zerglings. Loses quite a few of them, but does kill off a couple of the Adepts and pushes the Force back. Now, where is that Warp Prism? Warp Prism does make its way in. Has loaded up a couple of DTs, 4 DTs. But looks like Carnage should be relative. Oh no, he doesn't have any form of detection whatsoever. He has a lair, so he can get detection, but 4 DTs can actually take out a lair rather quickly. He's going straight for the lair. He's ignoring all the drones. He does manage to push back 2 of the DTs. Really nice drone control as he repeatedly right-clicks this out, and now the Overseers are going to be able to finish up. These are going to be some very dead DTs. Warp Prism, where are you? You need to pick up some of these DTs. Guys, get 3 of them. Warp Prism gets very low on health, but a very nice save from Carnage. That's actually going to put him in a really nice lead, because now we see 3rd expansions coming down at the 6-minute, 30-second mark. That's all well and good, but you have to remember that Ajax was very focused on making that work. He lost a lot of his Adepts in the earlier push as well, not really getting any kind of worker damage done, and now this 3rd expansion may have trouble going up with all the Zerglings moving on in. Photon Overcharge could be very, very helpful, but the Militia Core is just slightly out of position, and I think that may just be a little bit too much damage for the Militia Core to really save. 3rd expansion is going to get canceled. At least he gets the cancel, doesn't end up losing it. Oh, very late Photon Overcharge. I guess okay, not going to get the Overseer. Warp Prism going to try and make its way back in. Has made 2 Archons now. This is a pretty standard thing to do these days. After your Dark Templar harassment is done, your opponent has all that detection that they need to scout out your DTs. Make a couple of Archons and you might come around with a Warp Prism. You got to be really careful with that Warp Prism though. That is your lifeline to continuing pressure on your opponent's side of the map, because if you lose that Warp Prism, or if you lose the Archons, God forbid, you just don't have any form of pressure for your opponent. The Zerg player just gets to take their 4th expansion, tech up to Hydralisk. Ooh, we have that new upgrade that came out with Legacy of the Void today. It is going to be that Groove Spine upgrade. It has a slightly different portrait, and we do have Muscular Augments as a totally different upgrade. You can see, actually, this is really cute. We have 2 different Hydralisk dens to get both of the upgrades at the same time. It's split up into 2 different upgrades. One is, of course, for that movement speed. The other one is for range. So it seems like we're probably going to be seeing some attempt at a timing push over here from Carnage, who is leading up, I would say, in a pretty nice spot. There was a slight period of time where I think all those workers are being pulled. HX had a nice kind of worker income advantage, but you can see that things have really spiraled into Carnage's favor by quite a bit. All right, Blink finishes up. Disruptor number 1 is going to be, oh no, sorry, Disruptor number 2 is going to be popping out over here for HX though. And that really can be a big game changer. Disruptors are probably the biggest playmaker in all of StarCraft right now. Archon's able to do a little bit of damage over here. Ooh, Carnage out of position. Gets 4 worker kills, keeps that Warp Prism alive, doesn't really lose too much more than shields there. That's good. If he can just buy more time to get out more Disruptors, he does increase his options and his capabilities of just staying alive and taking 4th expansion, taking a good engagement later on. He does have to be a little bit careful about the potential for a big tech up into into Lurkers with 2 Hydralisk dens. I don't think there's any reason why Carnage shouldn't be teching up into Lurkers pretty soon. But we have an Infestation Pit on the way, interestingly enough. All right, here we go. Teasing at an engagement. I think Carnage realizes there's 3 Disruptors in the mix. He really cannot just directly engage in over there without some sort of big concave. He wants to make sure that he can actually dodge out of some of those Disruptor shots. He does not want to get caught in them. Lurker Den is finally on the way over here for Carnage. He has +1 missile attack, or sorry, +1 missile attack and +1 Carapace finally on the way. Very late on the upgrades for both of these players, almost hitting the 10-minute mark before starting them. It seems like that early kind of harassment that came out from Ajax, as well as the very fast tech up into Disruptors, has really prevented him from doing a lot. And I think that Carnage going for the double Hydra Den and getting up both of those upgrades has also maybe prevented him from really starting those upgrades a bit earlier on. But pathogen glands also coming out at the same time. This could be interesting. Locking down some of those units on top of lurker spikes when your opponent just overcommits a little bit could be really, really nice, especially with the Hydralisks, which I don't know if you guys have heard, but these Hydralisks murder things with all the upgrades that they end up having. These Hydralisks are pretty gosh darn scary. HX gonna have to be very careful and needs to make sure that he lands some of those disruptor hits. But both of these players taking the forward 4th expansion, which I find pretty surprising. It's a little bit less common to see, but here we go. Disruptor shot number 1, gonna connect on a decent chunk of the Hydralisk. Not too bad of a start for HX over here. Definitely starting to even up the supply a little bit already, taking a bit of a supply lead actually, getting more good hits, but gotta get those disruptors off the front line. Does get another massive hit. Oh my god, these disruptor hits are absolutely savage, and he does keep 2 disruptors alive, but ends up losing 2 or 3 as well. Really wants to make sure he keeps those disruptors slightly further back if he wants to keep them alive for additional hits later on. He's absolutely going to need them for when these lurkers come out, especially since he doesn't actually have an observer. That is a bit concerning. You really do want an observer for this, but you can just rely on disruptor hits if you have enough disruptors. Able to soften up some of those lurkers. There's only 3 lurkers around, now 2 lurkers. Disruptors all at the front once again. Gotta be so careful with them. Overseer is gonna be picked off over here. There's maybe an opportunity to also make some DTs to help out a little bit, but oh no, it seems like Carnage is starting to overpower his opponent. 3 disruptors still alive. 1 disruptor shot just go out, gets a couple more of the Hydros, but it just seems like the macro, the economy for Carnage is starting to overpower his opponent a little bit. Even with some really, really good disruptor hits. I mean, you can see it reflects itself in the resources lost tab. You can see that Carnage is still just holding a bit stronger. He's able to reproduce a little bit faster. He's finished up 1-1, but seems like HJax managed to find an opportunity to get up 1-1 finish as well. Would love to see 2-2 starter for both of these players at some point. Viper now coming into the mix. We got Dark Templar over at that 5th expansion. Gonna be able to snipe it off. Doesn't seem like any form of detection is gonna get there in the nick of time. A nice snipe off, and even gonna just try and go straight down to the 3rd. Overseer will catch all of these DTs, which is a bit of an expensive loss, but killing off that 5th expansion was absolutely worth it. In the meanwhile, I think HX probably just wants to get this 4th expansion saturated, and I love that he's able to do. Oh my god. Another savage hit. HX has been definitely getting some amazing hits with these disruptors. I really do feel like it's the #1 thing keeping him in a good spot in this game. That and those DT snipe offs. Carnage though, with those Vipers, if he can get some good pulls onto those disruptors, he can snipe them off very quickly. He can try and keep that disruptor count a little bit lower, but he doesn't really have that many Vipers. 1 Viper is all he has out on the map. He's going straight up to Ultralisk Cavern. He's getting up a Spire. Obviously, he's already finished up Hive Tech to get out that Ultralisk Cavern, but I suppose maybe he's just trying to go for a really quick tech up into Broodlords. I don't know how well this is going to work because I feel like he needs more of an army right now. He's got a couple of Lurkers which are buying some time. Observers are now out though, and there are some nice pulls. There are 1 nice pull on the Disruptor, but now he's out of energy because he only has 1 Viper. 5th expansion attempt going to be coming out pretty soon for HJax. He's already sitting in a pretty decent position now that he has that 5th expansion up. Sitting on 76 workers. He's got to be oversaturated some of these bases. A little bit oversaturated over here, a little bit oversaturated over there. Yeah, it seems like he's just a bit oversaturated some of these bases, but here we go. Disruptor hits, snipe it off even more. Viper just pulled in another Disruptor at the same time. We have some DTs over at the 3rd expansion, killing off quite a few workers already, going after the Queen as well, and it seems like Carnage is just too busy at the front to really recognize what's going on. He finally starts to pull some of his workers away, but in the meanwhile, the Disruptor hits are keeping him busy at the front. He is just unable to deal with both forms of aggression. Finally, the Roaches do manage to clean up some of those DTs, and Vipers are finally coming out in larger numbers, but is it a little bit too late? Carnage has equal army supply, but is it good enough army supply? Has more Hydrals coming out. Vipers are starting to pull more of these Disruptors, but these hits are so big. You can see that it just looks like HJax's army is so much scarier than Carnage's right now. Carnage at least has the Lurkers, but those Lurkers are going to die very, very quickly to this number of Disruptors. He has to just be so careful, and look at this, he's already going to end up taking a couple of shots from those Disruptors from a very far distance. And these Hydros and Roaches can't really engage or push back this army. All they can do is prevent them from pushing in even further. There's no ability for these Lurkers to just move on forward safely with how many Disruptors and Stalkers HX has. This is a defensive army, and behind this defense, HX is just taking his 5th expansion. He's getting up the economy he needs. Getting an Oracle, gets the 4th expansion, very, very low on health. He's gonna go for the snipe off and does back up, and again, the Lurkers are all stuck so far back that he can't really do anything. A couple of good Viper pulls are picking off some of the Disruptors. Looks like 2 or 3 of them did end up going down over there, but you can see HX is just replacing them 2 at a time. It's no big deal to him. He's building up a massive bank, and while Carnage is also building up that massive bank and does have a greater Spire on the way, I feel like the only thing I really am missing from HX is a Stargate that's producing a fleet beacon to get out some Tempest. I feel like if he had some Tempest on the way, he'd be in an amazing spot, but at least he's getting up that 6th expansion. He's continuing this harassment, going after the Hive Tech in the main base. This is gonna be a great snipe off. Overseer does come into the mix. He is gonna get so close. He does end up getting it at the last second, but even though the DTs all get sniped off, the entire army's in the main base. Even the Lurkers are here. The Lurkers didn't need to be here. But now, because of that, HX is going to push up to the top right. There's nothing to say this place. There's no way that he gets his army there in time. The hatchery is going to fall down. The Hive Tech in the main base was sniped off. The 5th expansion was sniped off. And now, yeah, sure, Carnage has a greater Spire. He has a couple of Broodlords on the way. But that's all he really has going for him. He's getting up a Lair Tech just to get up more Overseers now. I feel like HX is just playing this out really, really well. Again, the only thing I feel like is missing right now is he does find out some of these Corruptors is, again, the Tempest. Maybe seeing the Corruptors, he's going to start thinking, okay, Broodlords, got to be careful about them. Spots out the Broodlords with his Disruptor shots. Do we see a Fleet Beacon? Do we have a Fleet Beacon? No, no Fleet Beacon just yet. Really being quite hesitant on going for that. 2-2 upgrades also, by the way, finished up a while ago for HX. Nice Disruptor hits, killing off a couple more of those Lurkers. Hydro's also going down rather quickly, and even though Broodlords are pretty nice against this army, once the Lurkers are gone, there's not going to be anything to protect these Broodlords from the Stalkers just blinking underneath them. Even the Hydros have a really hard time blinking or dealing with this many Disruptors. Oh god, that was practically the only mining base that was left for Carnage. And even though he has this massive mineral bank, he has no gas. And that's the major problem right now. Broodlord number 1 does end up falling. It seems like HX not quite able to focus fire down the remaining Broodlords, but I mean, at this point, Carnage, again, he's not mining any gas from that 5th expansion. He just lost this expansion. He's trying to take a new expansion up at top right, but he's not even mining off of the gas guys who's over at his 3rd. I think that's actually a big mistake from when those DTs sniped everything off. He just never replaced them. Hatchery gets sniped off or canceled over there. A couple of DTs keeping the army occupied. Oh, okay, well, a lot of DTs end up going down over there, but well, he's gonna get another cancel up here. I feel like this has got to push Carnage into an all-in position. He's sitting down now, 60 supply almost. Disruptor doesn't exactly get the best hit, but this is the point where HX returns home and he snipes off this army. And once that army is gone, there's nothing to protect the Broodlords. There's nothing to protect the Lurkers. This is the entire real standing army, the mobile army right now for Carnage, and he can't really replace it. All he can do is make Zerglings. And I don't even think he has that much. He has 9 larvae, that's all he has. He can't even make that many Zerglings. And they're not even gonna be Zerglings with upgrades. Does he even have adrenal glands? I don't think he does. No, no adrenal glands. So this is just not the situation he wants to be in. 26 workers have gone down. You got Disruptors taking out more of the Lurkers. At this point, honestly, HX, he doesn't really know it because he doesn't quite have full detection of the Lurkers right now. But he could probably, with some detection, blink on top of these Lurkers, snipe them all off and kill off all the Broodlords and still just reproduce everything. And he would pretty much have this game. There's not really a whole lot at this point that I think Carnage can do with the economy that he has left. So we're gonna see HX slowly but surely, very patiently push on in and start to claim a bit of victory for his team, University of Connecticut. And if and when he does so, that is gonna put University of Connecticut up to that 2-0 lead that I was talking about, that 2-0 lead that you never want to be giving your opponent. And there it is, GG gets called, HX takes game number 2. And University of Connecticut, the Husky StarCraft team, goes up 2-0 in this very, very awesome series so far. Really enjoying it. But again, now we hop into that 2v2 match, and that is going to be a Terran and a random player with a Fang Zhao Yi and Dustwalker for Rutgers University, facing off versus Rookwood and Turkey Dono for University of Connecticut Husky StarCraft. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to play one more ad while we get that next game set up. It's going to be moving on to Sludge City, and we will see you guys there, hopefully relatively shortly.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are hopping into it once again. The 2v2 is coming on up, and we're going on to Sludge City for game number 3. Currently, University of Connecticut leading up 2-0. Can they take this series here in the 2v2? Will they move on to second place in their group, or will they simply fall down to third place? We'll find out as we hop into it and introduce the players as we spawn down here in the bottom side of the map, on top of the 2 players representing University of Connecticut. Give it up for the red Zerg player, Rookwood, also known as Base Jam Jam, and Turkey Dono. Once again, representing University of Connecticut to the Husky StarCraft team. And up here in the top left, we have the teal Terran player. Give it up for Rutgers University, Dustwalker, and his teammate AlphaGo. And I believe one of these guys is a random player, and I think both of them went by different names. AlphaGo went by the name Fang Zhao Yi on the actual website, and Dustwalker, the random player. Now, I didn't quite get a chance to see if he actually selected random. Let's see if we can find that out. No, I don't think it actually ends up showing it over here. So unfortunately, we cannot see whether or not he picked random in the lobby or what, but here we go. Let's take a look at what these openings are, because we don't exactly have a mirror matchup. In fact, we have a Protoss and a Zerg versus 2 Terran players. This is definitely a little bit less ordinary of a 2v2 to see. Normally you end up seeing at least one of the races being repeated, but it makes it a lot easier to keep track of everything. You just think anything that's a Terran player, that's definitely Rutgers. Anything that's not Terran, it's University of Connecticut. Well, we already see a bit of scouting information coming out over here. Not really looking for the gas guys, are just sort of surprisingly enough, but I guess scouting out and seeing, okay, no super fast Nexus versus the gold. We do have a really quick gold expansion being taken by Rookwood over in the back secure one. This is a pretty hard one to actually push up into. This is one of the nice things about this map, Sludge City, is that your one partner, one of your teammates, basically gets the in-base gold expansion. The other one has the more exposed one that's on the low ground. But then, of course, your other teammate that takes the gold also probably gets this more forward normal expansion. Interestingly enough, though, Dustwalker not going for that gold just yet. We have 1 Rax, 2 Rax, Reaper coming on out, and the 3rd Rax is out on the map. We have the same thing coming out for AlphaGo. It is going to be 2 3 Rax Reapers tying it or doubling it up to a 6 Rax Reaper play. Now, the curious thing is, are they just going to be going for one opponent, teaming up together, or are they going to be trying to split up the work? It looks like they're both going for one opponent, going for the Zerg, and I think that's a good call. Zerg players definitely going to have a harder time dealing with this, I think. Spinecrawler is already going up, and it seems like the Spinecrawlers should be pretty helpful, but a Stalker in the mix over here for Turkey Dono is definitely going to help out a lot with this kind of defense, because now he can focus fire down the Reapers. The Reapers start getting weakened up, and there we go. 1 Reaper's already fallen. The Stalker is already doing a really good job. And you do not want to lose any Reapers with this kind of play, because every single Reaper is so important to make the spiral out of control. But still, Reapers are growing pretty fast in number, and they do have an opportunity to jump between the 2 bases. In a sense, because this is a 2v2, there are even more opportunities to try and find your opponents a little bit unprepared on one part of the map, because there's so many more expansions to actually defend. Well, Spinecrawler already going to be under a bit of an assault. A couple of more Stalkers are coming out, but I want to hand it to Turkey Dono. Hasn't really lost too many of the Stalkers. A lot of Zergans have gone down, but no real workers have gone down for Team University of Connecticut. Well, I know behind this, AlphaGo finally getting up that natural expansion over at the gold. I think that Dustwalker, yeah, should have enough money for that command center. He's going for it, but going for it in base rather than on position. Kind of surprising. I guess he maybe is not as experienced on Sludge City. Doesn't know that there's an in-base gold expansion you can just straight go for without really any real risk. But Turkey Dono and his teammate Rookwood able to push these Reapers back. They're really not able to get up to the high ground. I want to note, you cannot use the Reapers to jump up this cliff over here. You actually need to move up to this area first, then jump up to that cliff, because otherwise that first cliff area is a little bit too high for those Reapers to jump up. Well, Stalkers are growing up pretty heavy in count. We have a Twilight Council on the way, and I want to note Turkey Dono is finally grabbing that gold expansion over at the front. Now, Hatchery does get canceled. A little bit unfortunate for Team Rutgers. Or sorry, for Team University of Connecticut, I should say. Really wanted to get up that third expansion, considering I think their lair tech is pretty delayed, all things considered. Really wanted to be able to get up some sort of economy behind all this, but oh, Stalker's able to get on top of a lot of these Reapers, many of them getting picked off at the same time. I think some of the Reapers went over to the main base, but the Roaches should be there in time. The Spinecrawler also should be more than enough to help deal with this. Maybe a couple of workers end up falling, but really not that many I am expecting to fall. And yeah, there go down those Reapers. A very, very solid defense. You can take a look at those incomes and the worker counts. Only 23 workers available for Rookwood. Also ended up getting that third expansion canceled, which kind of stings, but still 34 workers for Turkey Dino. He has his gold expansion. Both these Terran players also have their gold expansions, but you can see that their tech is much further delayed. Only now getting up that starport. Only now getting up that first medevac. And, well, actually, yeah, a very delayed starport as we had a tech lab coming out before anything else. And this means that we may see that kind of push across the map. Yeah, Stalkers are in pretty decent number as well and can push on forward, potentially getting some good damage done, especially backed up by the Zerglings and the Roaches and the Ravagers. Poking in at the front, it's not like there's really a wall in, so the Zerglings can stream straight on in. The Stalkers can focus fire down the important units, maybe even pick off some of those medevacs. Just put the pressure on. Make use of the units that they have. It looks like there's not really that much over here. Really fast stim again from AlphaGo does mean he can push back this force rather quickly. Stalkers do not have Blink just yet, but Dark Shrine is on the way. So even though the retreat does end up being a bit costly, Dark Shrine could get some damage done. But all in all, I'm really actually quite impressed with how Rutgers has plays this out. I really did think that after the Reaper pressure, they weren't going to be in the greatest position. It didn't seem like they did that much damage. But I guess they really just forced out so many units from Rookwood that he wasn't actually able to drone up. And he's sitting very far behind in the worker count, even though he hasn't really lost that many workers, only lost 3. He just didn't get an opportunity to actually make all the workers he wanted to. All right, first couple of DTs are being warped in right now. Where are they going to be off to? It looks like they may be at a proxy pylon somewhere on the map, but here we go. Stalkers moving on in. Oh no, there are some DTs. They're actually back at home on the defensive, but not even moving out. And guess what? We have these DTs already being scattered up by something. Stalkers are doing their best. Some nice Blink Micro E is making this a little bit closer of a defense, but the DTs gonna get sniped off by the Widow Mine just by friendly fire damage more than anything else. Would love to have seen some of those DTs just walk across the map. There is a scan, but there are no more DTs left over, it seems like. It's not really gonna matter. Maybe looking for some of the observers to try and pick off to keep these Widow Mines alive a little bit longer, but it does seem like with Blink finish up, Turkey Dino gonna push across the map a little bit further. Do we have any DTs on the other side of the map? I don't believe so, no. A little bit unfortunate, I think, as I'm sure. Oh, Widow Mine's still alive. I'm sure that these ZTs would have loved to have been on the other side of the map. I don't actually think they helped out that much with the defense either, so. You know, small little bits and pieces of damage being done, but not a huge amount. Robotics Bay is going to be on the way now for University of Connecticut, and in the meanwhile, Liberator is going to be coming on out for Dustwalker, who did go up for the faster starport tech. Where is AlphaGo on that medevac count, though? Looks like he's been able to get out a couple of medevacs on, not a reactor starport, just a regular starport, interestingly enough. Oh, here come some of those DTs. We should have enough scans available. Oh, no. Okay. No scans available there. There's going to be a scan available there soon. One DT gets sniped off. It looks like both of them may have gotten sniped off over there. Yeah. And quite a few scans actually available on Dustwalker's command centers, so I'm sure as long as they ping or communicate, they can scan all those DTs without any sort of problems. Maybe even be able to scan some of these observers if they get lucky. But forward gold expansion being taken by Turkey Dino, so he's going for the double gold play. Took his gold at the natural on that low ground and gonna go straight for yet another gold expansion. Just out of range of that tech lab too, and a supply depot. I'm really curious about the proxied supply depot. I understand, you know, you proxy your barracks over there. You're going to try and be a little bit cheeky. Maybe even proxy the tech lab. That's all well and good. Why proxy the supply depot? Oh, well. Well, the robotics bay finished up. Turkey Dino. Ooh, got Widow Mine dropped. Going to lose a couple of workers over here. Let's see how many workers really lost so far. That's probably the easiest way to check it. Not too many. 3 workers total. Maybe 2 more lost in the earlier, or from the later stages of that harassment. Colossus gonna be coming on out now. Sort of an interesting decision to go for Colossus rather than the Disruptors. I almost feel like with the 2v2, there's just less maneuverability. Armies are going to be more naturally clumped up because it's not just one person controlling the army oftentimes, it's 2 different people. And you have a better chance of getting a good disrupt shot off on at least one of your opponent's armies. Not to mention, there's just more supply. And when there's more supply, it's a lot harder to split up your units, especially when you get choked up into more of these places. Even the bigger areas like these kind of ramps can feel like a big choke point when you have 2 massive armies for both sides engaging on each other. Well, Terran's moving on forward, splitting up their armies just a little bit to try and clean up some of that creep, but here we go. We have an army on the top side. Terran player able to push back this army for the Protoss quite a bit, but the Adepts coming in from the backside, able to take on some of those Siege Tanks at the same time, though. AlphaGo pushes back so much of this Zerg force. The 1-1 upgrades for AlphaGo absolutely tearing through the Zerg army, and it seems like Dustwalker also managed to push back that Protoss army on the other side. More reinforcements come out, though, and it seems like University of Connecticut will be able to push this back. Colossus also coming to the mix. +1 weapons is kind of nice. Gonna have +2 weapons pretty soon, and that's definitely gonna help out quite a bit in pushing all this stuff back. +2 weapon Colossus will actually tear through Marine Marauder, as well as well, I guess just Marine Marauder. That's all there really is. This is a double Terran. Turkey Dano still has that 3rd expansion, mining nice and healthily. I don't actually think we have any of the income graphs or anything with the 2v2, unfortunately. But regardless, we do have 2-2 finish up now for AlphaGo. Really nice that he's keeping on top of those upgrades now. Turkey Dino should be catching up pretty soon with the 2nd Colossus also out. Just got to be careful about those Liberators. Does not want to walk into them, but so far is doing a pretty good job of staying out of the Liberator zones. Siege Tank still getting some pretty good shots off. Really nice positioning over here for the Terran players at that Zundao Watchtower, but I just don't think they have enough units. And it seems like, oh, I love this play. University of Connecticut coming in from both sides, the Protoss on the right, the Zerg from the left, and they're going to be able to absolutely crush this army. Hydral's taking out all the Liberators, even though the Bioforce moves on top of the Hydrals and take them all out. It comes at a hefty, hefty cost. Gonna try and maybe buy some time by moving those Marauders into a drop over to the Zerg side of the map, but I think the Queen, just plus a couple of the reinforcements, should be more than enough. Ultralisk on the way, of all things. Looks like a Hive Tech was made behind all this. With Hive and Ultralisk coming out, we have Colossus on the way. This is going to be a very, very difficult situation now. Remember, these Ultralisks are different than the pre-patch Ultralisks. These Ultralisks have +1 base armor. So before chitinous plating is ever researched or anything, they're going to have 1 extra armor. But after chitinous plating is researched, they're going to have 1 less armor than they would have otherwise. Oh, gotta be so careful. These Colossus on the front lines for where these units would try and come in from the backside. Does look like he's able to kill off that command center, though, without losing too much. Kills off the medevac with a couple of those Marauders, too. Really nice pickoff, and even takes another expansion over here. Now, Rookwood probably hurting a bit on economy. It really only has this mining base, but I will say University of Connecticut with the Protoss player, Turkey Dano, is gotta be feeling really, really good about their economy. Now, the mules will make it look a little bit differently, but you can see that these gold expansion patches are very much mining out for both of these players. In fact, I don't think AlphaGo really is going to have any form of mining pretty soon. Sitting at a pretty paltry 600 or 500 minerals per minute. Gonna try and get up this expansion in the bottom left. Where exactly is Dustwalker even mining from? I guess he has this expansion that finally just got taken, but oh, here we go. The Ultras coming on in. No chitinous plating on these Ultras, but they still do have 3 armor, so it's going to be a little bit helpful. Protoss army coming in a little bit on the late side, but the Colossus still come in from that high ground. Going to be able to absolutely shred a lot of these Marines. Even 2 Colossus is going to be more than enough to shred some of them, but he's got to be really careful. All the Zerg army is dissipated, and he does not want to lose the expensive sides of this army. Terms of supply, Dustwalker and Turkey Dano are going to be the supreme rulers for each one of their teams. Rookwood and AlphaGo both sitting pretty even, but I would say that Rookwood, a little bit later on that expansion than his counterpart, AlphaGo. So still going to be hurting a bit on economy, but trades it off in the form of that Ultralisk tech still really needs to research chitinous plating. I know that, yes, Ultralists don't have as much armor as they used to with chitinous plating, but it still is a good armor buff that helps out quite a bit versus bio. Remember, these are also the new siege tanks. They do 75 damage versus armored units, so I think those are going to be the main defense versus any of those Ultras once the chitinous plating comes out. In fact, yeah, an Ultras has 500 health points, taking 72 damage? Yeah, 72 damage with plus 3 armor, or 3 armor base. Oh, that's going to absolutely shred Ultralisks. And you have to remember, most of the Protoss army is also armored. So these siege tanks are going to be incredibly valuable against a majority of what both of these players have. Pushing on into this is going to actually be pretty painful, but here we go. Looks like there's enough Protoss here. Need to focus firing down some of those siege tanks and take him out ASAP. Does eventually get him. Ultralists a little bit further behind the Stalkers. Probably want those Ultralists in the front. Liberator is going to be able to do some nice damage to the Ultralists as well. 85 damage a shot, Jesus. Zerg army tries to push it on the other side, but oh my god, the siege tank. Look at this siege tank, 12 kills on this siege tank, 6 kills on another siege tank. This siege tank, not quite able to get quite as many, but seems like the Colossus count is really just doing its work. It's what's really allowing Turkey Dano and University of Connecticut, Rookwood, to push on in. Taking out a couple of these Liberators, getting into a nice position. Could start slapping off another one of these mining bases. There aren't that many of them for Dustwalker and AlphaGo. They really need to keep all of them alive that they can. But I just don't think that they can get into a good position to defend this. Sure, siege tanks are great, but you need to be sieged up already. We do have a counterattack on the other side of the map. Gonna be able to take out one of the new mining bases for Rookwood. Ultralists don't quite have chitinous plating just yet, but they're gonna have it in about 5 more seconds. Will the game even last that long? It seems like Turkey Dano and Rookwood are able to push on in. It seems like they're gonna be able to move forward. They're leading up double the supply of their opponents, and it seems like University of Connecticut is gonna take the 3-0. GG gets called. Well done, University of Connecticut, with a 3-0 victory. Dude, secure a second place spot in their group for the CS Star League. Really, really well done. Taking a look at those standings. Taking a look at those standings, you can see. Well, actually, that's not the correct standings. Let's move this forward over here to the next page. But of course, a big congratulations again goes out to University of Connecticut. Played out the entire series today rather well. I don't think there's too many complaints I could really have. And once again, like I said, they go up 4-1. Rutgers definitely doesn't sit too poorly. Now sitting 3-2. They may end up being tied or close to tied up with Georgia Tech now, who, if they end up winning this week's match, will go 3-3. But overall, still a pretty awesome day. But I want to give you guys a huge thank you all for tuning in. It was a pretty fun day for the CS Star League. And of course, a big reminder that this is going to be Thanksgiving week. So if you're a Canadian and you're thinking, well, Thanksgiving happened a little while ago, what are you talking about? America is celebrating Thanksgiving. And because of that, there's not going to be any Collegiate Star League happening this Thursday. So you guys are going to be off for a little bit. And if you take a look at that schedule, you'll see that, yeah, not a whole lot happening on the 23rd or the 24th, but we will be returning with League of Legends on the 26th of November, and that's going to be in about 4 days, so be sure to tune in for that. But without being said, I want to give a huge thank you again to the wonderful sponsors of the Collegiate Star League. Of course, Twitch being the first sponsor. You guys are watching the broadcast on Twitch. I'm sure that you're all familiar with it, but we want to give a huge thank you to them because they make so much happen for the CS Star League. They help make the offline offline finals happen for multiple of the games. And of course, I want to give a huge thank you to Band Gaming, who do quite a bit for the CS Star League as well. And of course, they can do a lot for you, especially if you run any kind of teams and team leagues, whether it be the Collegiate Star League or another team league, as there are many other team leagues out there. Band Gaming has a great platform that you can use to coordinate and figure out schedules for practice, talk about meetups, all kinds of great things. And do be sure to check it out. I'm going to be playing some more adverts for them right after this broadcast ends. But be sure to check them out and give them your thanks for sponsoring the Collegiate Star League. But my name has been Fear Dragon, still is Fear Dragon. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the broadcast. You can catch me at FearDragon64 on all the social media. And with that being said, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.
Only $14.99.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.